Strong, united, interracial crew, we have replaced you! Strong, united, interracial crew, we have replaced you! Strong, united, interracial crew, we...
So hello, everybody. My name is Darryl Lamont Jenkins, and everybody else could introduce themselves.
Beth Foster.
I'm Marina.
And we are vets from the days of Charlottesville. We are going today, as you're watching this, as you can see, this is pre-recorded, and today is the 8th anniversary of the so-called Unite the Right rally that took place in Charlottesville, Virginia, and it went on for like 2 days, and a lot of drama. A lot of drama to just underscore the fact. And unfortunately, we also, as everybody knows, we lost people from that day. Heather Heyer, as we know. And we want to talk about the day. We want to talk about the days, I should say. And we want to talk about how our experiences while we were there that day. And tomorrow, this is a two-parter here. Today, we're just going to be talking. We're going to be talking about our experiences today. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing some commentary on some footage that I have from Charlottesville that never really seen. No, I don't think anybody's seen it. It was funny because iDevox didn't do a proper article on Charlottesville that day. I mean, around that time. I mean, we talked about it, but there was so much going on in the aftermath that the only thing I was doing at that time was doing the media junket and basically trying to decompress, not depress. I was already depressed by what had happened that day. I mean, there was a lot that was going on, and there was a lot that I was trying to deal with. And this is me personally. So, I mean, I don't know how Beth and Marina dealt with the aftermath, but I'm gonna let them just explain it themselves before we get into it.
2017 wasn't Charlottesville. 2017 was many events. It started out for me with J20 in DC. I was there, and I was marching with the infamous Black Bloc, and there was some young people who had no business getting arrested or anything, and they had been telling everyone that the DC police would not kettle people. That was against their policy, and it's like even the organizers seemed to believe that, and we know some of the organizers, and I didn't believe that because I know how police are, and I see there's cops running behind us, and then I see a wall of cops ahead of us, and I see cops on the side, and there's these youngsters, 18-year-old college student, really pretty young trans woman, and a couple others that had they no business getting arrested. So it's like they say, I can't be arrested. So it's like, okay, grab them, pull them out, and just as I do that, the kettle closed, and we all know that there 236 people were arrested, and they were set to be incarcerated for most of their lives if the prosecutors had got what they wanted. That was traumatic. That was hanging over me. I didn't know if some goons from the feds were going to be knocking on my door, because I was there, and I was not blocked up because I wasn't expecting it to be like that. I just was wearing my usual green Carhartts and green top. It's just the way I am at demos. So that's hanging over me for the most of 2017. Then in March of 2017, this guy named Charles Murray came to Middlebury,
Forgot about
Vermont.
that.
And Vermont is very pacified. It's, as a dear friend would say, it's neutralized. People don't like militant tactics. They don't even like it when people are forceful. The demonstration against Charles Murray, that was forceful. I mean, people were yelling. I had an air horn, and it got rough. And people were arrested in the auditorium. They had some rented thugs at the college. They kept on trying to throw people out, and certain people, I won't mention who, were trying to block the door open, and because they wanted to keep him speaking. Then they extracted him from there, and it was a rough tussle when he left. And this person, I think Allison Stanger, she's like this right wing, she's with the intellectual dork web, you know, she's sort of associated with Barry Weiss and those idiots. You know, she said, oh, I had a head injury from this scuffle. I was right there when what happened. There was this guy who like about 6'5", built like a football player, college cop, and he took some little college student and threw him, and the college student's arm went out, and it went through her pigtail. And this Stanger spent the whole year saying she was damaged by that. She was wearing, you know, neck brace, glasses, and this made it traumatic for people because everybody, even some of the left, were saying, "Oh, you violated Charles Murray's free speech, blah 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 blah." Now, these two incidents, J20 and this thing with that, kind of traumatized me, and there were a couple more I actually don't remember. There were other things that happened on 2017. Charlottesville was August 12th, 2017. And the backdrop of this was Twitter. Twitter was not what it is now. The Twitter stuff, it was full of internet Nazi hunters. There was a certain very famous Nazi hunter from upstate New York. I don't know if we'll mention his name, but he was really blowing up. And that was in the coming up to Charlottesville. And I had been following Daryl for years. I've been saying, you know, maybe you should put your rogues gallery on MediaWiki back to actually the mid 2000s. But it was Charlottesville that connected us. I think it was there was a woman who was involved with they claimed that she released the Stuxnet virus code, that she got that and distributed. I don't know what the actuality of, and she connected me and Daryl, and I went. So that was the
day we met. We met when I came to pick you up over in the parking lot, not too far from where I'm at now.
Yeah, and there was an elderly gentleman who was very radical. He was I met him back in the 80s, and he was like a foaming at the mouth Maoist. He loved his Revolutionary Workers, whatever that is, the Revolutionary Worker people, the Bobavakian people. Now he is a
RCP, okay.
RCP. Now in 2025, he is complaining about how white people are being discriminated against. There's racism against white people. So this is the backdrop before Charlottesville, and it's where we are now. We have all these people, a lot of them who were with us, who are now taken in by this bizarre stuff. We could already see the IDW cancer starting to form, and I will pass it on to the others now.
In 2017, I was the director at the Mercy Junction Justice and Peace Center in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And we were a faith-based social justice organization. And one of the things we had felt called to do, we were primarily a white organization. And as people of faith, especially white people of faith, that we needed to be in the streets directly confronting the violent racism that we were seeing more and more in the streets during that time. And that meant, I know one of the things we did is we walked into the street to block a white supremacist speaker in Knoxville carrying a sign that said, God condemns white supremacy, I think. We'd also been working with Daryl. I'd met Daryl years earlier in protesting the Nazi white supremacy gatherings at Montgomery Bell State Park in Tennessee. And if you're not familiar with that, we talked about that quite a bit on the Out of Vox Old Guard podcast on Friday evening. So you could go back and pick up that episode to learn more about that. So in those weeks just before Charlottesville, an email call came out, and I can't remember exactly how I ended up on the email list, but it was a call from clergy in Charlottesville asking other people of faith to come to Charlottesville with them to stand up to this hatred and this white supremacy and this violence that was going to be brought into their community as part of this Unite the Right rally that was going to be happening there. And like every nonprofit, every faith-based organization, we're operating on a shoestring budget. So we felt like we should go there, but we hadn't fully made that decision yet. It wasn't AMRAN. What was the group that was there in that week before Charlottesville? Was that AMRAN that we were at, Daryl?
Oh, okay, 2 weeks before, you're talking about the conference?
Yeah, was that AMRAN or was
That was AMRAN.
That was
2
AMRAN.
weeks before,
Okay.
two weeks before it was and for those who don't know, AMRAN is the American Renaissance Conference that is held every year. And this particular year, it was held 2 weeks before Charlottesville.
It was
and
early.
all the organizers were there.
Yeah. So when they put out the call for clergy and people of faith to come to Charlottesville, it kind of felt like just another, and I hate to say it that way, but there were so many of them happening, just another white supremacist rally. And did we in Chattanooga, Tennessee have the money and the resources to go all the way to Charlottesville to confront Nazis when we had them right there at home to confront? So we're still kind of trying to decide, can we afford to do this? Do we need to even do it? It's, there's these things popping up everywhere. But we go to the American Renaissance Conference at Montgomery Bell to protest them, to stand with the group Daryl's organizing. And Daryl's talking about like this thing in Charlottesville looks like it might be something different. And we have Richard Spencer saying there that this event is going to be dramatic. Some might say traumatic. And so it was there at that event that we really decided we got to go to Charlottesville. And I think there were me, two of our elders, and then two other people from Montgomery Bell. We got in my car and we drove up there. We arrived 2 days early. The group we were with, they did training with people of faith for 2 days before the event, before the white supremacist event on the next day. And
I remember, for me, it was all of a sudden, we're just working the entire time. Ever since when Trump got in, that was the beginning of everything. Because you mentioned Richard Spencer. Well, Richard Spencer had a rally, or rather a conference, 2 weeks later after the election. And we all came out and went against that. And all hell was raised there, but nowhere near what we saw in Charlottesville. That was it was basically building up, and you started seeing all the parts on their side coming together to do what we ended up seeing later in Virginia. I mean, we started seeing. I mean, we started getting more and more familiar with Richard Spencer, especially after inauguration day when he got punched in the face. So then everybody knew who he was, and then all of a sudden, everything. Never mind the fact that this was perfect because in the I would say in the aftermath of Trump going to the White House, all of a sudden the white supremacists were basically mainstream. That was when they started becoming mainstream, and you started seeing them all over the place those couple of months between the election and inauguration day. When he got punched in the face, that was when basically everybody said, "Okay, the battle has been joined." And then all of a sudden, we started becoming mainstream. Antifa became the big boogeyman to the right. That's when that all began, and it was basically from then, from inauguration day. I mean, I could say go back to whatchamacallit, to November when Spencer had his rally. I mean, had his conference, but really right after inauguration day, that was when you just basically saw the wars going on back and forth in the streets. There was stuff going on in California. There was stuff going on. We had ourselves some fun in Philly, but there was a lot of things also going on around the country. There was just one fight after another, more, and it was just getting worse and worse. And I remember, and in addition, and we had our rallies in our rallies in DC too. And bear in mind that at this time, I was starting to get a little bit notoriety in the media and everything. I was running around talking to the press all the time. I had just came out from a TV show, from shooting a show that never aired, and that's a long story for that. But I also started doing a documentary that was eventually called Alt-Right, Age of Rage, and that's how a lot of people know me. I also had a movie at the time that I was working on, but we didn't start shooting that until 2018. We were just working on it in the lead up. So what was going on with me is I was dealing with a lot of media stuff, right? So there was cameras all over wherever I was and all, and I was I remember we was having drama with the Nazis in DC, because you got to remember the Nazis that we were dealing with now. Remember, never mind the fact that they were now mainstream and basically in the White House. They were the ones that were planning for this well before this happened. And once it happened, basically they thought that the U.S. Capitol was their playground. So we had to come out and make sure that they understood that it wasn't. So we had that going on. Spencer was getting his name out there all over the place. He was the big Nazi. And he was bringing a whole bunch of other knuckleheads along with him that were real, real, real bad. And one of them is still out there. A dude named Jack Posobiec. He's the one that's, by the way, if you go on Twitter, if you see that website, that account, woke, end wokeness, that's his website, his account, one of his accounts. So we cut to May, and it was, I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff that I could talk about in the lead up to to Charlottesville. But the first rally was a flash mob, and that was in May. Spencer put it together, and they came out with their little tiki torches that day, and came out of nowhere, and nobody expected them to be there, and they saw that that was a huge win for them. Well, why they were in Charlottesville in particular, it was because someone was trying to take down the statue in one of the local one of the people were trying to take down the whatchamacallit, the statue, the Robert E. Lee statue. So
one thing I think that's really important about that part of the story, Daryl, that gets left out a lot is the Charlottesville City Council. The local people had decided we don't want this in our community anymore. And
exactly.
People talk about local rights and state rights all the time. That community had said, we don't want this anymore. And then we have all these outsiders coming in and saying, no, we're going to force you to keep this traitorous, enslaving jerks artwork from the 1910s, not the Civil War, up in your community. So it's all just hypocrisy and lies all the way through. But the city council in Charlottesville they voted and they said, we don't want it anymore.
And it came cursorily, the opposition came because of a guy named Jason Kessler. And he was doing the rallies up in DC too. And he was basically looking like he was trying to be a media guy and all of that. But he was really the face of what kind of rallies we saw in DC, even though for the most part, in Charlottesville. And basically, to be honest with you, Spencer piggybacked off of that and basically made it bigger than a lot of people really expected. But the flash mob that they did in May of the flash mob that they had in May of 27 was really 2017, I should say, was something that basically galvanized everybody. By July 28th, the Klan itself came out to protest in Charlottesville to try to protect the statue. And on the backs of that, then you heard about this rally that Kessler was putting together for August 12th, the Unite the Right rally. And he had flyers out, said speaking, but basically said that these speakers are going to be there and so on, or what have you. And all we knew at that time is that we had to be there for this because they knew, everybody was really amped up on our side and on their side. And really, we was trying to get it shut down, remember? Because we was trying to tell them, look, we can't have a rally at that area. It's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be hell. And the ACLU defended Kessler, and they defended his free speech and all of that. And we expected it. We knew that they were going to do that. We knew that people were going to try to make it a free speech thing. And we were like, okay, fine, we'll be out there to deal with this. And we just made plans. We just simply made plans. And we talked about it on a podcast that there's three of us in there was three people in particular that was on one people's project at the time. I mean, there's a couple more people than just that, but the main ones was myself, and I don't want to say their names right now because I don't think it'll be because I have not been given permission, but people know who I'm talking about when they see them. And they were a married couple, and they discussed what they expected 2 days before the rally. And and we already mentioned the fact that they had the rally 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after AMRAN, where they basically, like you said, they organized. They put everybody that we saw in Charlottesville, or pretty much everybody that we saw in AMRAN. So, but 2 days before the conference, before the rally, my people down in DC said had a podcast, and they expected the Charlottesville to be their Altamont, because you got to remember, now this time they were all just really killing it. It was really out there. The Nazis were out there almost every week at this point, every week with a rally somewhere, and basically trying to make it the big their year, their moment, and all of that. But we looked at all the focus on Charlottesville and said, hey, this is going to be them Altamont. And if anybody knows what happened in Altamont back in 1969, it was that wasn't no, that was a scary prediction, and sadly it came true. And it was crazy because myself and two others came with us. It was me, Marina. Okay, I'm going to have to explain to everybody. I have a hard time talking here and there because I had 2 strokes earlier this year. So if you hear me stammering, that's where it's coming from. But Marina was, I picked her up first time we really met face to face, and we went to, yes, we did. We went to Philly to pick up 2 more people, and they're good friends of mine and all, and we headed down to Virginia, and we was on our way to where we was going to stay for the weekend. And this was the 11th. This is the 11th we were driving out. We thought that we was going to be able to get there early enough to see everything. They kicked everything off that night with the Tiki Torch march. We turn on the we're listening to the radio as we're in Virginia, and we start hearing about how the National Guard was on standby, and that's when we realized, wait a minute, something is whoa.
I remember,
and then we heard, yeah, go on.
Daryl, that day we had been at training at the church, and we'd finished up, and we were taking, it was kind of like we're off for the evening, and there was going to be a church service that night. But we had gone back to our hotel room to rest and clean up and get some food and stuff, and we were headed back over to the church service. And by the time we got there, these Nazis had surrounded the church. They had to lock people inside the church. And there was a person outside, and he was like, y'all just get out of here. It's not safe. We can't let you in the church. We've got it locked down. And so there was a person brave enough to stand out there with those creeps marching around with those torches and telling people, just go. You can't get in the church. We've got it locked.
Yeah, and that's how hardcore it was. That was when I started carrying. I was carrying my bursa at the time, and that's what I had over in during that weekend, and I knew there was a good possibility that I would probably have to use it, which was dangerous because I wasn't sure whether or not I was legal. I found that out later, but yeah, I was legal, and but I didn't care either way. I just needed to make sure that everybody was going to be protected, whether it was myself or people around me. But we was listening to all this on the radio. I think we got some, Marina, you can attest to this. Were we getting phone calls from people saying that things were going down yet?
I don't know if it was phone or something else, but I'm in the car. We heard that what was going on with the Torch March as we were driving down, and you were really tired after all that driving, and we said couldn't make it.
I
I
almost
mean,
feel like I called you from my hotel room, Daryl. I don't remember if I did or not, but it seems like I did.
It's a possibility. Yeah. I mean, I do know that the couple, the DC crew, they were already in town. I believe they was already in their hotel and what have you, and they was already put away. They basically just they weren't going anywhere. So.
I think something that gets lost in the story of that night before August 12th is that they hurt people that night too. I know there was
Yeah.
a professor who was beaten in the head, suffered some traumatic brain injury. There was there was a lot of physical assaults on people that night, plus just the trauma of, especially for people who lived there, of having these people come into your community and do these kinds of things.
there was a woman, I'm not going to mention her name, very prominent in that her initials are EG, and she was at the statue, and she was assaulted the day of the rally on the 12th. She was really shaken, and she got caught behind the Nazi lines. It's me. I don't fucking care if it's Nazis, and I had to grab her hand and pull her through the lines because she was shaken from the day before. I mean, pretty ferocious lady, but after getting beat up with torches
Yeah.
and drop kicked the day before, she was a little shaken.
But remember, our president said there were good people on both sides that weekend.
Oh man, I
Well, if we start
remember.
talking about him, then well, this will go off the rails. And here's something interesting about um my situation. As I was talking about, as I mentioned, we was talking about all the media that I had been working on and the documentary that I was working on. The guys that were the documentary was supposed to be about Trump's first year. That was it. That so when we after the AMRED rally conference, where we had basically a huge turnout on our side, which we almost never get in DC for one of these, and they got a lot of footage that they could use for the documentary, and it was in the can. It was getting basically post production was in the way. It was actually done. It was done, but they wanted more. They wanted a little bit more, and I told them, look. And they asked me this probably like a week because they said they needed a little bit more footage because they don't think that they had enough. So I tell them, look, in a couple of weeks, there is going to be this rally in Charlottesville, and it's going to be huge. You're going to get everything you want at this thing. So they had a crew film while they were there. Film because they couldn't, because they were in California. They had to hire somebody to film for them. That changed the whole mission of the documentary. Now it was about an age of rage. Now it was about the right. I think Trump probably got maybe 10 minutes in the documentary, and people can find it somewhere online. It was on Netflix for a while, but they actually took it off of Netflix because Netflix considered it to be too political after 2 years. But that's what I was told. But in any case, that night, the day rather, we went out early. We always go out early because we want to set up properly. We want to be able to make sure that we're in a good spot. Our cars were in the right spot, and we can get some initial, footage. And that's some of it you're going to see tomorrow. And the next thing, and then we started seeing the Nazis coming in. I mean, there was, I believe, Marina was talking with one of the Proud Boys. Proud Boys weren't a big deal, weren't a huge deal just yet, but they was going there, and we saw one of them, and we talked to him for a little bit. I forgot what was his silly name.
Sal Sapola.
Yes, he was out in New York. I think Brooklyn or something.
Oceanside. And what's interesting about Sal Sapola is it's the same town that Max Misch, the Nazi in Vermont, whose claim to fame was harassing Kaya Morris till she left office. He's now in prison because of aggravated
Max Misch, you should say.
Yeah, Max Misch, and he's in jail now because he aggravated domestic assault and kidnapping, and he was waiting for sentencing for illegal magazines, and he's been given, a walk time and time again in Vermont. And they're from Sal Sapola and Max are from the same town.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So basically, what we not surprising, but and I would just basically say, in our case, for us, that was the rest is history. We've seen a lot of what had happened as the day went on, and we're going to see a little bit more of it. We're going to see a lot of it tomorrow.
Can I be the annoying history person for a second?
Yes. There's nothing annoying about history.
I wanted to make sure I had my facts straight. So on that statue, it was commissioned in 1917 and dedicated in 1924. So we're talking, almost 100 years after the Civil War. So these people who are talking about removing these statues, erasing history, it's totally bogus. This is part of that lost cause narrative. It was part of Jim Crow. It was part of trying to keep African Americans and other people of color from getting the rights they were promised after the Civil War. But the good news is that it was finally removed in July 10th, 2021. And it wasn't just removed, they melted it down 2 years
ago. And I was there for that.
Oh, were you? Oh, that's
and I have footage of that too.
We can add that tomorrow in our next episode, Daryl.
And
all right, so I'm gonna have to add that.
Before we get too far afield about the Sal Sapola story,
yes.
that little conversation is, I believe, and the picture of the Proud Boy tattoo on his arm are what got the Proud Boys in the Integrity for America lawsuit. And there was a statement from Gavin McInnes that said, well, if some punky looking guy comes up to you and says, hey, Sal, is that you? Choke them. That was directed at me. And I ain't never seen a Proud Boy come round here. Now it's 8 years later, so yes, it was fucking me. Okay.
Oh, too good. All right, so listen, we're gonna wrap up now for this segment, and tomorrow we're gonna look at some video of the day, and what I want to just say before we because we're going to talk about I'm going to bring this up on both shows, is that we need your help. We need your subscriptions. We're new here to Substack, and we have an actual show every Friday at 7:00 EST. It's called Anti-Fascism OG, and I'm gonna make sure we say it right. I'm gonna make sure I say it right. Anti-Fascism OG. So we're gonna be all over the place over the next couple of weeks, and we're gonna have guests. We're gonna have really good conversation with you if you are a subscriber. So I'm gonna let Beth speak on that a little bit, if you like. Just explain how things gonna work.
we're new on Substack, but we're not new. We are the OG. Daryl's been doing this work for a quarter of a century through One People's Project. You can check out Vox. Daryl was fighting these Nazis before fighting Nazis was cool. Actually, fighting Nazis has always been cool, but Daryl's been doing it a long time. So subscribe on Substack. We're not going to put up paywalls. Everybody needs to know how to be an anti-fascist. Everybody should be an anti-fascist. We want to share this information with everybody. But if you can subscribe and pay, be a paid subscriber, please do. It supports the work. Daryl's also doing some really serious fundraising right now through One People's Project. There's been a lot of challenges over the last couple years. So trying to raise some serious amounts of money over the next couple months. They can donate from the One People's Project website, Daryl.
Yes, they can, and we actually have a number, a dollar number that we're really trying to go for, and it's 10,000. That's how serious it is. We definitely need to gen that up as much as we can. So please help us out as much as you can. We're trying to get 5,000 before the end of the month, and just get the word out to people that can help out. And you're going to see us talking about that all over the place. So we wanted to make sure that that was said before we cut out for today. But tomorrow, check us out. We're going to have some great video, and I will also tell you before we show that, just remember some of it might be triggering. Some of it might be triggering, and we're going to remind people of that tomorrow too. So come back again tomorrow this time, and we're going to see what we can say. All right, y'all. Take care, everybody. Peace.